What's going on, guys? Jose here with Diamond Ranks Media. Today's coverage is going to be on MLB 20 The Show. We're just going to be going over some dream cards that we'd like to have in the game. As you know, the game's release is right around the corner. San Diego Studios' annual release of MLB The Show, and we're extremely excited for it. So without further ado, let's get started. A couple different things I want to talk about first, or a couple different card types we'd like to see in the game. One thing that NBA has that I think is really cool and would be awesome in MLB, and they can do so many different things with, is some kind of power-up or evolution card. As a random example, you take a guy like Freddie Freeman, you start out with his rookie card, you got to get a certain amount of hits and record certain stats, and then move it forward to his breakout card, and keep doing that all the way to his signature series. I think that'd be something that'd be a lot of fun, something you could use to flip to make stubs, and just something to grind and do and keep the game more relevant for a longer period of time. With that being said, let's get into some of the players we want to see. First one we're going to start off with is Roy Halladay. Roy Halladay was an absolute stud, for those of you who remember. I think a 2010 flashback would be absolutely amazing, as he went 21-10 with a 2.44 ERA, 219 strikeouts, and he led the league in wins and complete game shutouts. Throughout his whole career, Roy Halladay has been absolutely incredible. Unfortunately, we lost him recently as well. But the stats have always spoken for themselves. This is a guy that dominated in the American League East, got traded over to Philadelphia, and just continued his magic there. Another player, too, would be Alfonso Soriano. A good flashback for him would be 2006 with the Nationals. He was be an all-star card. As he put up a very solid year with 46 home runs, 95 RBIs, hitting .277, 41 stolen bases. This is a guy that was a very well-balanced player. Phenomenal defender, amazing on the offensive end, true five-tool player. There wasn't anything he couldn't do. Another pitcher that would be great, too, would be Mike Mussina. 1992 All-Star card with the Baltimore Orioles. Mussina recently, last year, inducted into the Hall of Fame. Would be a lot of fun to be able to pitch with him, as he's kind of the master of the knuckle curve. In the 1992 season, he went 18-5 with a 2.54 ERA, 130 strikeouts, and he led the league in win percentage, which, that's huge. Mussina was a phenomenal pitcher, and to be able to use him in MLB would be an absolute blast. Going on from there, another position player would be Larry Walker, this year's inductee into the Hall of Fame, 1997 hardware card with the Rockies. 49 home runs, 130 RBIs, led the leagues in home runs and slugging percentage, won the MVP. There's nothing the guy really couldn't do. He is not a product of Coors Field. That was one of the biggest things with Larry Walker, as I'm looking here at his home and road splits, and at home 20 home runs and 68 RBIs while slashing .384. On the road, 29 home runs, 62 RBIs, while slashing .346. That card would be an outstanding offensive card to use, a lot of fun. Would definitely have some pretty insane stats. Another big one would be Greg Maddux. Greg Maddux, for those of you who remember, was absolutely dominant. The card I'd like to see would be a 1994 hardware flashback, as he went 16-6 with a 1.56 ERA, 156 strikeouts, and he led the league in wins in ERA, complete game shutouts as well. In the second half of that season, he posted a .87 ERA, which is absolutely just insane. Big thing with Maddux, you watched him. This is a guy that had his way with any player at the plate. He could paint corners like it was nothing, and to be able to translate that into the MLB game would be so much fun to use. And playing against him would be fun too, trying to figure out different ways to get on base and score runs. Greg Maddux in MLB The Show would be beyond fun. Next card after that, we go Mark Teixeira, 2009 All-Star card with the Yankees. He had 39 home runs that year, 122 RBIs, while slashing .292. He was the second in the MVP running, and he was also an All-Star, and he led the American League in home runs. Mark Teixeira, one of the best switch-hitting power hitters to ever don a Yankees uniform and to ever step on the diamond. This guy isn't only good on the offensive end, he was one of the best defensive first basemen to ever play the game. And Mark Teixeira, growing up watching him, was absolutely fun. You'd see him hit a shot from the left side of the plate, then you'd see him do it again from the right side. Mark Teixeira would be a lot of fun to have, especially because first base, there's not a lot of high-end defenders in the game. Teixeira would have diamond defense without any doubt, and having that on the corners, for those of you who play, you know how important that is. Another flashback, Jacob deGrom, a 2018 hardware with the Mets in his Cy Young year, where he was just absolutely phenomenal. 10-9 with a 1.70 ERA and 269 strikeouts. He again, he won the Cy Young that year. deGrom has been absolutely phenomenal for the Mets, and the team has seen its recent struggles in trying to find their place. And this is a guy that's just continued to shine through, and everything he has done has just been great. deGrom is a phenomenal pitcher, and as you know, he's got a live series card. He had a finest last season, and those cards are great, and they're a lot of fun to play with. He's in my rotation. I like to use him, and I think having another deGrom card would be awesome. Gary Sanchez, his rookie card, is something we would love to see. 2016, he didn't play, full season. Hit 20 home runs, 42 RBIs. Fastest player ever to hit 20 home runs. He ended up being second in the Rookie of the Year voting. I mean, I think a lot of that was due to how many games he played, but definitely deserved it. I mean, that card would be phenomenal. High power. Definitely a lot of power. On the defensive end, wasn't an amazing defender. I mean, he has an absolute rocket for an arm. I mean, you can't run on the guy. He's accurate, and it's just a bullet. There's not much you can do once you start moving, and once he pops up, you're all done. Moving on from there, we got Andy Pettitte, 2005 veteran card. That would be with the Houston Astros. Pettitte that year went 17-9 with a 2.39 ERA, 171 strikeouts. Andy Pettitte is one of my personal favorite players, and I had a lot of fun watching him growing up, and as he pitched for the Yankees and as he pitched for the Astros. And Pettitte was just a guy who was relentless, and he always knew how to find a way to win. He always kept you in the ball game. There was a lot of times where you'd see, he'd have one bad inning, but right after that inning, you knew he was going to bounce back. The guy had great stuff, great breaking balls, pretty accurate pitcher. I mean, there was nothing he really couldn't do, and Andy Pettitte will always go down as one of my favorite players. Moving on from there would be Craig Biggio, and a 1998 All-Star card. He had 20 home runs that year, driving in 88 RBIs, and batting 300 and 325. Craig Biggio is an absolute legend. Gets overlooked a lot. He doesn't get talked about as much. He's part of the 3,000 hit club, and his son is currently playing for the Toronto Blue Jays. Craig Biggio was a lot of fun to watch. This wasn't a guy that, was coming up and hitting moonshots. This is a guy that was spreading the ball around the field, playing gap to gap, and he was a good defender on top of that, and he can play multiple positions. And his card would be similar to something like a Tony Gwynn. A lot of contact, mediocre power, okay speed. I think a Craig Biggio card in this game would be really fun to use, just because last year, at the beginning of the year, the game wasn't about hitting all home runs. It was all about gap shots and moving your players around. And, I definitely think he would complement that style of play, or anyone who has, a contact-driven team where they're looking to put the ball in the gap and not hit home runs. So another thing we did, I talked with Nick, and we decided that we wanted to pick a player each. We're going to call it kind of a wild card. Someone that we think may not be in the game, but we would absolutely love to have. And for Nick, it was Jose Fernandez, 2016 All-Star card. Jose Fernandez, as you know, tragically passed away in a boating accident, but this kid lived and breathed baseball, and he was very passionate about the game, and he was amazing. In the 2016 year, he finished with a 16-8 record, with a 2.86 ERA, with 253 strikeouts, led the league in strikeouts, and he finished 7th in the Cy Young voting. He was also an All-Star that year. Jose Fernandez was absolutely dominant. Every time the Marlins handed him the ball, they knew what they were getting. You were going to get innings, you were going to get strikeouts, and he was going to keep you in the game. Unfortunately, we lost him all too soon. I would love to see what he would have done now, but having another really good right-handed pitcher in that game would be a lot. As last year there was a lot of lefties, and I think this year, if you were able to add a Jose Fernandez, it'd be a lot of fun to use someone like him, especially given that a lot of the younger players playing this game would know who he is. For me, A wild card I'd like to see is Derek Lee, another player that's kind of forgotten about, not talked about a lot, and he who was absolutely amazing. I'd like to see a 2003 All-Star card. And then 2003 All-Star card or a 2005 card. I mean, he had 46 home runs, 107 RBIs while slashing 335, and he led the league in hits, doubles, average, OBP, slugging, and OPS. And he was one hit shy of 200 and one extra base hit shy of 100. He won a Gold Glove, a Silver Slugger, third in the MVP running, and he was also an All-Star that year. And that just speaks for itself. I mean, how much fun would it be to have a card like that that could do everything? That could, has a little bit of speed, some good power, some good contact with good defense. That would be a lot of fun to use along with all these other ones. That'll do it for our list today. Be sure, to comment down below, tell us what you think, some players that you think you'd like to see in the game, some flashbacks or some legends. And, be sure to like, subscribe, comment, share our videos, get us out there, and free our boy Nick. Thank you.